And Spider-Man, of course. I love Spider-Man.
What about TV, music, movies?
Music wasn't really a huge part of my life growing up, and it's not like huge for me now. I mean, I like music and I have things I like listening to, but I usually only listen to music in certain situations. I don't I don't like spend periods of time just listening to music and like searching after particular artists or anything. In fact, there's a lot of songs that I like that I don't even know who's singing it. So music to me, music's not. It's like more. It's kind of like in movies where music is like a background element of the movie. To me, music is kind of a background thing. But I like a lot of different kinds of music. Now, the only periods of time where I actually did kind of like sit around and just listen to music, I was actually listening to like classical music or like movie film scores, especially John Williams. I love John Williams. Superman theme, the Star Wars theme, Raiders of the Lost Ark theme. Movie themes like that I love. They just like carry me away.
Would you consider maybe John Williams being the score of your life, if you would? The soundtrack to your life, maybe?
No, my life isn't that grand to deserve that. I would love to have a life that deserved to have his score.
Right.
I would like to have that sort of a life, but no, the theme of my life would probably be I don't even know who sings it, but it's the words. I'm trying to think of the words for it. It's the one where he's singing like it's just plain. It's my life. My life is pretty plain. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea.
No, it's okay. Well, it's the one. It's a I don't know why I sleep all day and I like watching the puddles gather rain. My life is plain. I don't even know all the words to it.
If you know what song that is, leave it in the comments below, guys. What about TV and movies?
Well, I mentioned the Incredible Hulk TV show. When I was a kid, that was like the TV show for me. My favorite TV show. And for a long time, it was my favorite TV show of all time. I might still say it's my favorite now simply for, sentimental and nostalgia reasons, but there's, of course, shows like way, more complex and more
advanced on a technical level.
Right, and even maybe in a storytelling way too. But as a kid, that was my favorite show. And of course, I liked when I was a little kid, I didn't like Star Trek. I thought it was dumb, and I thought it was a ripoff of Star Wars. That shows how much I know. Just because it had Star in the name, not knowing that Star Trek actually started in the 60s and Star Wars came out in the 70s. But
again, glad I live in a universe or in a world where it's okay to like both, okay, guys?
Right, and actually I do. I love I really started getting more into Star Trek probably in the early 80s. I would actually watch Star Trek with my grandmother because she loved it. Actually, my mother actually liked Star Trek too, but my grandmother liked it, and we would watch it together. And I started getting more into it. And of course, I started liking the movies. The movies kind of got me more into it and everything. And by the time the mid '80s came around, I loved Star Trek, especially when Star Trek: The Next Generation came out. Oh, I actually got to see Star Trek 4 in the theater. Loved it. We actually went with my grandmother, which was the last thing I got to do with her before she died, actually, that was kind of nice. But Star Trek: The Next Generation in the 80s, that was a huge deal. I wish Jason the Red Hair was with us, but that was a really huge deal because at that time I was living, in Michigan, and Jason, me and him went to school together, and it was a huge deal for both of us. We were both wanting to watch it, and not just us, but our mothers. His mother was wanting to watch it. My mother was wanting to watch it. But we only had a little crappy black and white TV. We got the channel in, but it was a little small black and white TV. They had a nice big color TV, but they couldn't get the channel in. So they brought their TV over to our house so we could all watch it together in color because they were able to get it in there and stuff. So we got to I bet none of the kids today could ever imagine having a black and white TV. I don't even know about Stan if you ever had a black and white TV growing up or not.
Actually, we did. I was saying before we get off of Star Trek, I need to say something about The Next Generation because I think it came out in '88 is when it first aired.
87 or 88, somewhere. I don't.
87 or 88. I was around
somewhere around there.
7 or 8 years old when it first aired, and I remember that being a pivotal moment for me as far because, like I said, I was 7 or 8 years old. That's a pivotal moment in television history for me as a kid. Star Trek: The Next Generation, and it was just awesome. And I didn't take to it the Encounter at Farpoint. I remember liking it a whole lot, and then there was a couple, actually a few episodes that I didn't much care for right after that. But then we get to talking about Data and get those Data episodes early on within that first season, and I was hooked, man. I was hooked on the Tin Man. So
Data was awesome, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a good show. I get what you're saying. Yeah, the first season, they were still kind of like, finding their place. So not all the episodes on the first season were great, but it definitely started taking off, and it just like as it went on later on in the series and stuff, it just got better and better. It was a great show.
Absolutely. And I guess
movies
and games.
Movies and games. All right. Well, going back into the 70s, 77. The first movie I think I remember seeing in the theater, but I only remember one part of it, was Jaws. And I only remember the part where this guy's in his boat and there's just blood everywhere and stuff. And I was probably like 3 years old, I was probably like 2 years old. So because I think Jaws came out in 76. Although back in those days, they used to keep movies in the theater forever. So I might have seen it in 77.
Right, almost
because
the
it was
whole
actually
year.
in 77. Yeah, because Star Wars was like that. It was there for the whole year. And we were probably going to the theater at the same time because we used to, like, during the summertime, get to go to the theater every day. Because movie theaters were cheap. And we would just go, me, my older brother, my older sister, we would go and we would go and see Star Wars like every day. And I remember, I remember being in the theater, and I remember some of the scenes. I don't remember, of course, I being only 3 years old. I can't like go back and remember watching the whole movie. That, of course, remember the whole movie because of how many times I've seen it, but I remember, sitting in the theater watching, the X-Wings and watching Darth Vader. I thought Darth Vader was real. Han Solo and Chewbacca scared me. I had a nightmare once where Han Solo and Chewbacca came to my preschool and froze everybody in ice. And that's funny because Empire Strikes Back hadn't come out, so something to do with Han Solo and ice freezing and stuff.
What scared you about Han Solo and Chewbacca, man? I mean,
I don't know. They just seemed like bad guys to me. I mean, it wasn't so much that I was scared of them. They just seemed like bad guys. I don't know. So they came and they froze everybody, and including Batman and Robin. This was Batman and Adam West and Burt Ward, Batman and Robin. They froze them too. I don't know why they were at my preschool, but they were there.
wow.
But anyways, but other than that, it made an impact. I loved it. I loved the movie, and back then we didn't even have VHS tapes back then, so we'd had to. I didn't get from after Star Wars wasn't in the theater anymore. I didn't get to see it again until the first time it aired on television, which is like in 1983. So it was like 6 years before I got to see it. I take that back. We did have a school, and I just remembered this. One of the schools I went to, they had like a film projector room. And they did have a film reel of Star Wars, but it was a very edited version of the movie. Like, it was edited down to maybe like 30, 45 minutes at most. So it wasn't even the whole movie. So I did get to see it, like, I think once in that way. That's also where the first time I ever saw Hardware Wars, which is like the first ever well, not or almost. I think the first ever Star Wars spoof sort of fan film kind of thing. I saw it for the first time there too, but and then I didn't get to see Empire Strikes Back in the theater because my stepfather hated that kind of stuff, and we had to go see some Gary Coleman movie at the same theater where Empire was playing.
No,
You remember? And, yeah, I know. We had to see a Gary Coleman movie. And not that I didn't like Gary Coleman. I like Gary Coleman, but I wanted to see Empire Strikes Back. You know,
Gary Coleman did movies. I thought he was just the
no, he did movies. Yeah, he did movies.
I thought he was just the. What you talking about, Willis? You know,
no, he was in a lot of movies. Like actually, a lot of movies. He did a lot of movies. And, but me and my brother peeked into the theater where Empire was playing and stuff. We saw it was like a scene. One of the scenes when Luke and R2 had just gotten a Dagobah and Luke was trying to clean them off and stuff. But and now we did get to see Return of the Jedi when it came out.
Well, that's good. That was a relief.
Yeah. My mother took us to see it. She went and took us to see it, so I did get to see it. But I didn't get to see Empire Strikes Back. Well, I saw part of it, I think, like in 85, 86 over a friend's house. Not the whole movie, just like the last 20 minutes of it. And then I got to see it for the first time, the whole thing, like in 1988, like 8 years after it came out. On VHS tape when we had like a VCR. But yeah. So, but suffice it to say, Star Wars, though, even without getting to see the movies constantly back then, there was the comics and toys and stuff. I didn't really have a lot of Star Wars toys. And I only had some of the comics and stuff. My brother used to have like the whole collection of Star Wars comics. That was just something big for all of us. For all of us kids, we loved Star Wars. So that's probably Star Wars is probably the biggest, most influential movie to me in my life. Really, I know there's probably more advanced, superior movies. You want to be all critical about stuff, but
it's a lot of people's. That's a lot of people's lives right there. So I don't think you're alone.